You are about to enter the world of urban legends, where fact is often stranger than fiction. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between truth and urban legends. You are now entering the world of urban legends. There are 3 stories. 2 of them are myths. Only one actually happened. Can you tell which is true? First, an innocent Christmas prank turns tragic. Santa gets stuck in a chimney. Then the famous one about a confused elderly woman who tries to dry her dog, with disastrous results. And finally, a daredevil pilot flies to 16,000 feet using a lawn chair and some balloons. Only one is true. We'll reveal which one at the end of the show. It's a typical family scene poolside in Jacksonville, Florida. But there's something missing. For the Silverman family, a dark memory haunts even the sunniest of days. It was 1988. Husband and father Alan Silverman died suddenly, leaving a gaping hole in the family, changing Christmas forever. They had recently moved to sunny Florida from Pittsburgh. Reflecting on life then, the surviving family members, Mom Bonnie, daughter Alice, and son Aaron, fondly recall a picture-perfect family. Life was good in their new dream home.
We moved to this fabulous neighborhood in an absolutely beautiful house, elegant.
It was huge, spacious rooms, beautiful yard, acres of land.
Just beautiful, everything, the way that it was set up. We were almost too afraid to sit down on all the furniture.
Better still, the couple living next door instantly became the Silvermans' new best friends. Meet Terry Hotchkiss.
We tried to make them feel at home in the neighborhood the day they moved in. My wife Ronnie went over with a tray of cookies, and from that time on, the 4 of us were really tight.
When Christmas rolled around, Alan and Terry pulled out all the stops. The Silvermans' new house had a fireplace with a substantial chimney. That gave the 2 men an idea for an innocent Christmas prank that would surprise Bonnie and the kids.
Alan and I hatched this plan that we would make it a special event. He wanted to become Santa Claus. And he would actually make a grand entrance into his living room through the chimney, complete with a bag full of presents for the kids.
Loaded with gifts and dressed like Santa, Alan would climb onto the roof and down into the chimney. Alan practiced the prank a few times until he was confident it would work. He was excited about seeing the joy on the kids' faces. As Christmas Eve approached, he needed an alibi to get him out of the house.
He told me and the children that there was an emergency in Pittsburgh. There was an systems analysis problem that had to be done absolutely before New Year's.
He basically said goodbye to his wife, drove away, came back, hung out in the garage until after dark.
When the coast was clear, Alan climbed on the roof. All was going according to plan. But about halfway down the chimney, he became stuck. Foolishly, he hadn't done a proper test run, fully loaded with the heavily padded Santa suit and sack full of presents. If he called for help, the chimney walls muffled his cries because no one heard him. Back inside the house, Bonnie Silverman was worried and confused. Alan had not called from the road as he said he would. By the day after Christmas, she still hadn't heard from him.
Perhaps he was having an affair. There were so many smart girls that had graduated and gone into business. I thought, I'd let myself go perhaps. I mean, I had 2 little kids. The things that went through my mind, I can't tell you what I thought.
Like a good neighbor, Terry dropped by to check on them.
Bonnie, hi.
Hi.
Hey, kids.
Say hi to Terry, kids.
We're
Where's Ellen?
He's been called away on business.
And you haven't seen him since Christmas Day?
Pang in the bottom of my gut, and I went outside. And then climbed up the ladder onto the roof.
Terry was about to make a gruesome discovery.
There he was, dead. His eyes were all glazed over.
Alan Silverman had died of a heart attack, dressed as Santa, with a sack load of presents for his family, wedged in his own chimney. The Silverman family was shattered forever. The sunny dream home became a casket. Bonnie and her 2 small children couldn't bear to live there. She sold it and moved out.
I simply couldn't live in that house with the memories of the police pulling him out of the chimney, black and sooty, and I couldn't live with that.
It's a tragic tale, where the day-to-day meanderings of life take a sad, dark, ironic twist. Alan Silverman's poorly planned prank got the better of him. Or did it? Did it really happen? Find out at the end of the show. While you're getting your mind around that story, see if you can hammer out the answer to this peculiar puzzle. Mini-myth number 1154. The bump in the rug. A carpet layer stopped for a smoke break, only to discover his cigarettes had fallen out of his pocket and were trapped under the carpet he had just laid. Instead of relaying the whole thing, he flattened the lump with his hammer. It was then that the lady of the house came in holding his cigarettes, asking if he'd seen her pet hamster. He'd escaped from his cage and could be anywhere. Could the carpet man really have mistaken his pack of cigarettes for a rodent? Truth or modern myth? Well, no. It was entirely false, often told but never true. Every episode of Urban Legends has 3 mysterious tales. 2 are false, only 1 is true. So far, we've heard about the death of Alan Silverman. He dressed as Santa and got stuck in the chimney. Tragic truth or bizarre fiction? We'll find out at the end of the show. Now on to the next tale that animal lovers find especially horrifying. Is it true that a woman microwaved her pet poodle? In Bordeaux, France, life was simple for Estelle Forget. She spent her time living a carefree life without all the trappings of modern technology. But it was her love of dogs that gave her inspiration, oddly enough, to embrace high-tech conveniences.
I love to use the computer. I am a poodle fancier, and I can keep in touch with like-minded breeders.
But it wasn't always so. There was a time when anything modern confounded Estelle. She would learn about the dangers of one new appliance the hard way.
My story is famous around the world now, see? It has been heard and seen in many media. I hope many people will take it as a lesson. I certainly learned it.
Estelle had one great passion in life. The senior citizen spent a lot of time with her dog Minky. Daily walks and daily companionship. Minky was a miniature poodle.
This little Minky was my partner in life. You know, we were always together.
Mrs. Forget liked to keep his coat clipped quite short, which meant a lot of grooming.
I buy new things for him. He had a bath, and I put little things in the bath and he smells good.
People pampering their pets is not new to Mrs. Forget's son, Gaston. As a fashion photographer, he lives in a fast world of extravagance. But what did seem over the top to him was his mother's bizarre method of drying the dog's hair after the bath.
Minky had to be neat and tidy, so she used to place him in the oven for 5 minutes.
Mrs. Forget believed that putting the dog in the oven for 5 minutes on the lowest setting was the best way to fluff up the frizzy poodle fur.
Always with the door open, of course. I'm not foolish.
Oh, there you are, Mama.
One day, Gaston arrived with some new kitchen gadgets, a way of pampering his mom to make her life easier.
Everything. A coffee machine, an ice cream making machine, a bread oven, everything.
At her age, Estelle Forget was skeptical about learning new technology. But the microwave did seem to capture her imagination.
I have to take her, guide her by the hand, show her how it works. You have no waste of time. You can use it so easily. You can eat food in seconds. And when I say that, bam, her face changes. Her eyes light up.
Pleased with her new time-saving device, Estelle took Minky out on his daily stroll.
It was lovely and sunny. So I said, come on, Minky, we are going to have a nice walk. And he was very happy, and we walked for quite a while.
A change in the weather was about to change everything for little Minky.
Let's go. The clouds came. The sky was so dark. We had to run. I said, no, we can't stay outside. We have to go home.
Estelle didn't often take her poodle out in the rain. If he got wet, it was usually in a bathtub. And under those circumstances, she would have dried him the conventional way, in her oven. But this time, Minky was soaked and freezing. Estelle was panicked and wanted a faster way to dry off Minky and warm him up.
He was a bit agitated because he was so wet. So, what shall I do?
Do something. Only 5 minutes. And oh.
Estelle put the timer to 5 minutes and hit start.
2.
No animals were harmed in the making of this show. Here to illustrate the dangers of a microwave is radiation specialist Dr. Rick Ubik.
Microwaves vibrate the water molecules in food at 2,450 million times per second. That generates a lot of friction, that generates a lot of heat, and that's what cooks your food. So inside the body of the poodle, the fluids would become hot and then would start to vaporize. I can simulate what would have happened to the poodle with an egg, having a tough outside but a liquidy inside.
Ubik demonstrates what could have happened to the dog using this industrial microwave.
There you go.
While Minky was in the microwave, Estelle dried her hair.
And I entered the kitchen after 5 minutes or so. And what did I see? Oh, it was horrible. Horrible, my poor little Minky. What did I do? Oh, it was a nightmare.
A poodle in a microwave, a dark and twisted tale. But is it true? Find out at the end of the show. Get ready to be shocked by this mini-myth number 2589, the Bug Bomb Bomber. Annette Oliveira's house was infested with cockroaches. To get rid of them, she set 19 bug bombs, which release chemicals that kill the pesky insects. It worked. Well, until the chemicals reached the pilot light on her gas furnace and caused an explosion. Fact or fiction? Can bug spray really blow up a house? The answer is yes, it's true. Mrs. Oliveras did indeed obliterate her house while trying to take down the cockroaches. Here on Urban Legends, we have 3 main stories, but only one of them is true. Can you tell which one is the real deal? Is it the Santa who tried to delight his kids by coming down the chimney? Is it Estelle Forget and her microwaved poodle? Or is it our final hero, a high-flying daredevil known simply as Lawn Chair Larry? We'll let you know at the end of the show. Ever since the dawn of time, man has been drawn to the skies. From Leonardo da Vinci to the Wright brothers, everyone has an idea for a flying machine, including Larry Walters of Los Angeles, California. He launched his contraption from his backyard in 1982. He survived that stunt, but has since passed away. But collaborator Steve Gottlieb remembers his friend fondly.
He had the interest in flying ever since he was a child. It was the idea of being able to fly by himself.
In July 1982, after 20 years of fantasizing and planning, the dream became a reality. Larry's plan was to launch his homemade flying contraption from his own backyard and gently journey eastward over Los Angeles.
And when he picked out a lawn chair to be the vehicle that he sat in to transport him, hey, it was light, it served the purpose, and that's what he did.
The chair's low-tech flying system consisted of a bunch of helium weather balloons and 8 gallons of water for counterweight. His landing gear was a pellet gun for shooting out the balloons.
He got in the chair. There were all these last-minute thoughts. Larry, you sure you want to go? His girlfriend, almost in tears, she was pleading with him, Larry, are you sure?
Larry was sure he wanted to go for it, but what he hadn't realized was that he'd grossly overestimated the number of weather balloons he needed. Rather than floating gently upwards, the balloons rocketed him into the sky faster than he had intended, and much higher than he wanted to go. His friends on the ground quickly lost sight of Larry and his flying lawn chair. And, much like the scale model in our demonstration, the wind quickly took Larry into restricted airspace. A pilot flying his plane picked up the intriguing visual. Edward Duanes was up in the sky that day too, piloting a TWA flight from Los Angeles to Washington.
As we turned east at about 7,000 or 8,000 feet, at the 10 o'clock position I happened to see this cluster of balloons. And then as I focused more on it, I could see that there was a person hanging on the bottom of these balloons.
Concerned for Larry's predicament, Edward contacted the control tower to report the odd sighting.
This is TWA 231, level at 16,000 feet. We have a man in a chair attached to balloons at our 10 o'clock position, range 5 miles.
Larry was heading for some very dangerous territory.
The approach corridors to Los Angeles were a little bit north of his position, but the wind currents would push him almost directly north, just about the right glide slope to be crossing those approach corridors of Los Angeles.
Not only was Larry heading into an LAX flight path, but he had reached 16,000 feet and was rapidly rising to uncharted heights in a lawn chair.
At 16,000 feet is quite cool. Above 10,000, you really should start to have some supplemental oxygen.
Freezing cold and gasping for breath, Larry knew he had to find a safe, steady way down.
He took out the pellet gun and aimed up at the lower level of balloons, started shooting them out.
If you shoot one too many, you're going to come down at a tremendous rate, or if you don't shoot enough of them, it may take forever to come down.
But as he shot his 7th balloon, he accidentally dropped his gun. By an amazing stroke of luck, Larry had shot out just enough balloons for an even and steady descent. He'd survived a treacherous takeoff, extreme altitudes, and exposure to the elements, but the most dangerous part was yet to come, the landing. Meet Jerry Fleck, who witnessed firsthand the treacherous ending to Larry's escapade.
I just looked out my back door and I saw this tower of balloons. It looked like weather balloons.
From his vantage point, Jerry could see the chair was headed for trouble. As he was approaching the ground, the wind was blowing the rickety contraption directly toward a set of live power lines.
The chair had come just underneath the power lines and have swung into this backyard, and there were some people that were tracking him, and they got there and grabbed the chair as he came swinging in to hold it. Otherwise, he probably would have gone right back up with the wind blowing the balloons and into the power lines.
So, did Larry really make it safely down to land and into aviation history books? Or is this just a load of hot air? We'll tell the truth after this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 1735, The Butcher's Prank. Butcher Wayne Peach decided to play a prank on his regular customer, 62-year-old Maureen Cummins. Maureen had a good sense of humor, so one day Wayne thought it would be funny if he popped a pork sausage through the fly of his pants. That act in itself was shocking enough. But then he took his joke even further and proceeded to chop the sausage off with a meat cleaver. Maureen didn't find it funny. She keeled over dead with a shock-induced heart attack. So, was there any truth in that story? We can cut to the chase. It was completely fake. The time has come to reveal all. Which of our three bizarre urban legends is true and which are figments of the imagination? Was it Alan Silverman, whose good intentions of playing Santa ended sadly when he got stuck in his own chimney? False. This is a classic urban legend that is almost as old as Santa himself. The tale even made it to the silver screen in a 1984 hit movie, Gremlins. Was it Estelle Forget and her microwaved poodle? False. This is an age-old legend which has had slight variations throughout the years. The story of dogs, cats, and hamsters being dried in microwaves, ovens, and even dryers has been told for decades. Although the story isn't true, microwaves do kill, so please don't try this at home. So that leaves us with Larry Walters, the man who took to the skies in his lawn chair. Very bizarre, very strange, but also very true. And here's the actual footage to prove it, shot by his team on that unbelievable day.
My altitude's 1,500 feet. Do you copy? Over. I copy. Are you sure you're okay? There's planes up there. We can hear.
That concludes our walk on the wild side. The world of urban legends is dark, bizarre, and twisted, and sometimes true.